Hello and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester and thank you for joining us for episode 111. Tonight we're going to give our match and player analysis of Wolves' 4-1 win away at London. I don't even know where to start because we've won. We're going to take your questions and look ahead to Saturday's game against Bournemouth, the Gary O'Neill derby. Boys, where do we go from here? How do you start things off when you've won 4-1 when it's looked so bad? Delighted to be joined by Chris Tyler and Mark Knock. Knocky, start things off. Give us your take on Fulham 1, Wolves 4.
Yeah, we've had worse away days, haven't we? No, I thought, starting from the beginning, I thought first half hour I was a little bit nervous, to be honest. We seemed very open. There was plenty of space down the wings and they had a couple of big opportunities. Raul somehow in the post from 5 yards out with an open goal did us a bit of a favour there, I think. But I think when they scored and you're thinking, here we go again, it's going to be another one of those days. But we scored an absolutely wonderful goal after half an hour. And it seemed like their heads dropped. We got a massive lift and we just seemed to take full control after that. We were knocking the ball around well. We were finding space. The midfield was excellent. I thought we absolutely dominated that area of the pitch from the 30-minute mark, and we were just in full control, weren't we? We looked dangerous every time we come forward, and I think we were clinical. We were clinical, and that's something that you've not always been able to accuse us of. But every time we had an opportunity, we seemed to force an opportunity on goal, and it was just a really, really strong performance. And the goals were, all four of them were absolutely fantastic. It clicked, I mean, I don't think we've struggled for goals this season, but we've struggled for consistency and we struggled for a consistent performance. And to put in a second half display that we did and just take the game away from what is a very good Fulham side was just really impressive. But I think if you're looking at standouts, Matheus Cunha, I tweeted out after the game, I think that's probably the best individual performance I've ever seen from a Wolves player. And that includes Cunha's hat-trick last season, because this was just a more rounded display. And he took the game by the scruff of the neck. And along with João Gomez and Mario Lemina at the back, we just powered through them. We were just dominant. And it was really good to see. It's just nice to come on here and after we've won a game. It's the first one I've been on when we've won a game all season, so it's got a different feel to it. But it was a game that we won and a game that we deserved to win as well. The Southampton game, it was touch and go at times, whereas with this one we were just absolutely dominant. It was a phenomenal performance. And tactically, we'll give Gary O'Neill credit because he got it right. Tactical, the setup was good, substitutions were good. It was just a very good all-round display on and off the pitch, and the fans as well were absolutely magnificent. So, yeah, I think it's a day that everybody's deserved, and it's a day that we're due as well. So, yeah, really pleased.
Tyler, you would be forgiven for thinking a goal down, Raul hitting the bar. We're thinking, here we go again. We'd have all taken, I think most of us would have taken a point. I mean, I know there's a few sneakies on here that thought we might win. But one of the things that hasn't been talked about because of the scoreline, to go a goal down, to equalise in such brilliant fashion, to then, for me, as Knocky sort of suggested, I think after Wolves equalised, Wolves were the better side, and I think they grew and grew into it. So to come from a goal down, to put on such a dominant display, it's more than we ever thought was possible this weekend.
I think we all had a sneaky, didn't we? Because we were texting each other before the game, and I think in a way the lineup sort of gave people maybe a bit more belief, certainly going forward, because the one thing that was in that team at the weekend was goals and was attacking players and were players that can hurt you. And I think Knock has mentioned the three, and they were the spine, weren't they? I think Lemina, Gomez, Cunha, they're your spine in the middle of that pitch. And like Knocky said, Fulham just couldn't really live with it. But on with Knocky, it was clinical. That's how I'd describe that display. We weren't chance after chance, but what we had, we took and we buried. And I think the third in the goal scoring charts this season, which is a crazy stat. If you think we've only won 2 games to have scored that many goals, is bonkers, isn't it? But so many good performances. Let's praise Gary where it's due. Whether he got good or whether he got lucky, who knows? Because the team, did have a couple of surprises in it, but it worked, didn't it? And we've mentioned the 2 or 3 that were outstanding, but the others weren't far behind either. Some really good performances at the weekend. So, yeah, we're all happy. We're all, I suppose, delirious to a point. But I think I said, or someone said after the Brighton game, that moment has got to mean something. And I think it's sort of proven that it has, because we're unbeaten since then. The players are obviously playing for him. That's one thing that you couldn't doubt. Even when we were struggling, they were playing for him. So it seems the Doyle moment and the Cunha equaliser at Brighton has hopefully, led to better things, and hopefully we've turned that corner now.
I know this is something I talk about a lot, Nocky, and to you as well, Tyler. I talk about luck and a bounce of the ball. And I did mention a few times in the build-up to that Brighton game before that Wolves are starting getting the bounce. It's not happening. But in the last few games, there has been a little bit of fortune. Now, you make your own luck in the Premier League, but Wolves have had so much. They had a little bit of fortune on Saturday, I think. They had a little bit with the post. They had a little bit in previous games. They had a lot at Brighton. So it's nice to get a bounce for the ball, Nocky, but let's not take away credit from what was particularly a magnificent second half performance.
Yeah, we've been due a bit of luck, haven't we? Because we've definitely had we haven't had the rub of the green since VAR started, really. So we've been due a few decisions, and you know what, you make your own luck. I think if you keep going forward and you keep trying to impose yourself on games, you give yourself a chance, and roll it in the post is a bizarre one. I know that Mario gets a touch on it, but for me, any striker in the world should be tucking that away. I think he tries to break the net, doesn't he, rather than just tap it in, and we get away with it. And we end up going on to win the game. It could have been a different story, but I think the second half display, as you mentioned, was just phenomenal. The way they grew into it, they got better and better, and there was so much space on the pitch for us. And I think Andre and Gomez were just dominating that midfield area. And I was a little bit critical of Rodrigo Gomez in the first half. I thought he really struggled to get in the game. For me, he was at fault for the first goal, and he should have cleared it and didn't. But he grew into it, and he started taking his man on. He started driving forward and creating opportunities and stretching play. Semedo, I thought, had an excellent game. They just all grew in that game, and they just seemed to get bigger. The shoulders were up. They were back, and they were at them, and they were having a right good go at it. So it was an excellent second half performance, and there's a lot of credit that needs to be dished out. And I'm sure we'll do that as we move through the show. But it's hard to look past Cunha for me in terms of the reason we won that football match, and he was just absolutely outstanding. And while you've got players of his quality and Gomez and a couple of others, you give yourself a chance at this level, and it does make you question how we've ended up in the position we're in with a quality of player that we know we've got and what they're able to do, in those moments. Then they can win you a football match. So we're not safe, we're not out of it, but we've given ourselves a foothold. We've given ourselves a chance now, which is something that I don't think we had probably 3 weeks ago.
Well, before we talk about the goals, some great points there, Nocky. Tyler, Wolves were Gary O'Neill was almost forced into this team selection. We know Mario can play centre-back. And I know there's some questions, so I want to save a little bit on that. But this is a man that did a job on Harry Kane 2 years ago, pretty much marked him out of the game, did a really, really good job on him. But Wolves have almost not stumbled upon it, but I think a lot of people, including us three, have wanted Andre back in the team because I just think he's too good not to be in. But because he's almost been forced upon us now, the team just looked more balanced. Andre and Joe Gomez looked natural. We had someone that was capable on the ball at the back. People talked about Connor Cody, but I think he's a lot stronger, a lot quicker. So by our two, probably our best centre-backs at being out, it's actually forced Wolves to be more positive.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Did Gary get lucky or good? And I suppose Rodrigo was probably the one surprise. You could sort of make a case for everyone else starting the game, couldn't you? We all thought Bellegarde would play because of the nature of the game. But I suppose then when, Sarabia doesn't make it either, he probably was the surprise choice, wasn't he? But, I'm in Nocky. I thought, if nothing else, he gave them something to think about, which we've not necessarily done at times this season. We can be quite easy to play against, but I thought he gave Tete all sorts of problems, really, and not by necessarily being brilliant or playing superbly. Just gave him something to think about. He was quick. He was making runs in behind. Bellegarde on the other side was drifting inside, getting the extra man in midfield. He may have stumbled on it. Or has he been working on that all week in training? You maybe think not, with a couple of late injuries, but I like the look of it. And the one bit that I think we all agree on is how it's taken this long to get Andre back in the side. That's something that you've got to question, because I mean, the guy's just a Rolls Royce, isn't it? You can tell that some footballers are just really, really good, and he's one of those. And he enables Gomez to then play a number 8 role and get forward. It's not a coincidence Gomez, got a goal and assist, is it? Because Andre is just there to mop it behind him. I thought as a 2, they were superb. And
yeah,
the point is right. The point Nokia makes is right, and I think this is where Wolves fans have been right in their justification, because there's no way that team should have won 2 games in 20. They're too good for it. So yeah, hopefully now we see more of Andre next to Gomez with Kuna. Rodrigo, we've not seen him since the first game of the season. Let's give him a run. That there's quality in the squad, isn't there? And that can be the criticism that everyone's rightly put that way. But like I said, on with Nokia, I'm not getting carried away. It's early days. We've won 2 games all season, but let's hopefully kick on from here.
It was just for me though how balanced we looked. As you put then, Andre is the natural player that comes in between the centre backs. He comes and collects, and then they go wide. And then João Gomez is more someone that can get, what we saw on Saturday, get forward a little bit more. For me, that looks our most balanced pair. I love Mario in midfield, I really do. And if whenever he plays, he doesn't let us down. I just think that's our best pairing. And we've talked about it for a while. How's Andre not in? It just looked, for me, Nocky, that's the most comfortable in the middle of the park we've been. We're not playing against a bunch of cloggers either. We're playing against a team. I know Smith Rowe's been in form, particularly he's not my cup of tea, but he's been in form. But the way I thought we nullified them in the middle of the park, I thought not totally, but I thought we were in control in the middle of the park. I thought we did really well.
I think Mario and João Gomez works, but it felt like Andre and João Gomez just worked better. It just felt right. They clicked in together. Andre's one of them players who would let you just go and play, because he's going to do the horrible work behind you. He's going to support the back line. He's going to support the attack when he needs to, and he's just going to win the ball and distribute it. So it allowed João Gomez a little bit more space to go and express himself, I suppose. So it works really well, and they have got a good midfield. I mean, they're not going to finish the Champions League spots, but they had an opportunity to move into, I think it was the top 6 with a win. They've picked up.
I think they'd have been top 4 if they'd have won on time, wouldn't they?
Fair play to them. But they had an opportunity if they'd have beaten us. They've taken some big scalps this season. But I think from our perspective, it was going to be that midfield battle that was going to be key for us, because I don't think Smith Rowe is a good player, and he does play more of an attacking role, but he does drop into midfield to collect the ball. And if you can take him out of the game and control him, you give yourself a chance. And we did that really well. We made him look like a bang average footballer. And for a team of our league position to have a Brazilian international sat on the bench not really impacting games for you for some reason, that seems strange to me. So when you get him in the team, and I do kind of understand it, because I don't think the 3 works particularly well. I feel like you end up with one pushed up into an attacking area, and that doesn't work either. Whereas Lamine is your captain, you assume he's going to play if he's fit. So we've got too many options in that area, and we don't know how to use them. But with Mario having to drop back, it gives us the opportunity to play those 2 together in midfield, and it just worked really well. And if you win the midfield battle, then you're going to win most of your games, aren't you? Because that's where you win and lose the game. So it worked really well, and it's got to be something we stick with now, even if we're not going to play Mario in that back line. I just think you need to stick with those 2, because it looks like our most effective pair.
Yeah, Tyler. That's with them 3 have been in the team a fair bit when Andre signed. It was almost trying to accommodate everybody, but having to almost stumble upon things and play Mario at centre back, that's the best those 3 have played as a trio, even though not next to each other. And it just shows that the tweak between having 3 midfield and 2 midfield, it's such a big difference. The jobs they're expected to do. But I mean, I'm contradicting myself a little bit, but having those 2 players in their natural positions has got the best out of them. And I think we've known that Mario can do a job at centre back in the past.
I think you hit the nail on the head with sticking with those positions, and I think that's what Gary did well on Saturday, because there was talk about Lamina in the back 3 and other options, but what he did was basically play players in their natural position. So realistically, it was only Lamina that was probably in an unnatural position. He put Aït-Nouri at left back, Totti at centre back, Rodrigo on the wing, Bellegarde on the wing. So in a way, it probably almost simplified it for them all a little bit. It was a bit of a 4-4-2, wasn't it? On the naked eye, and I know we're hybrid and we move, etc. But I think he just went back to basics with 4-4-2. Didn't want to put too many people in positions that they weren't necessarily comfortable with. And the quandary now, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, is what we do from here, because I'm always a bit hesitant to continue to play players in their natural position. But then how do you change a team that's gone and won 4-1 away from home? It's probably a nice problem to have. And hopefully, like we said, he stumbled across it. But I think he just kept it simple. He didn't want to move too many players in natural positions, and it worked.
Yeah, I know we'll go through individual performances after we've gone through the goals, but Mario Lemina looked like he played centre back. I mean, like his whole career, he was mobile, he was comfortable, he was organising, he was aggressive. I know Jimenez probably isn't going to have the mobility, but other than his chance, I thought Totti and Mario ate him up completely, and he didn't really get a look in. Other than that, the ball when sort of the man got in behind Bellegarde. But let's talk about Fulham's opening goal, Nocky. Probably avoidable on a few occasions. I think Aït-Nouri was doing a bit of ice skating. He got caught out late on at Brighton for doing that. But that's give and take with Aït-Nouri. If he's in the team, there's going to be moments of magic. There's going to be times when he loses the ball. I don't think he should be dancing around with the ball there, though. I think Rodrigo had an opportunity to clear, but I don't think anyone's expecting Alex Iwobi to score with his left foot. I think everyone knew Alex Iwobi scores against Wolves because that's what he does, but we're not expecting him to bend one in the top corner with his left foot.
No, but it's poor from our perspective. I mean, Gomez has got the chance to just shank it out of play, and I think he tries to bring it down, Raul nicks it off him, and then when the ball comes into Iwobi, Aït-Nouri kind of anticipates that Raul's going to run off him, so he drops back, and that gives him space to pick his spot, and he always seems to do it against us, doesn't he? So I thought it was a really poor goal from our perspective. It's a good hit. I mean, if you score that, you're absolutely delighted, aren't you? But we gave him far too much time to pick his spot and bend it in, really, and we should have shut the supply line down. So I don't think Sarr you can criticise. It was right in the corner and it's bending. It's away from him and coming back inside the post. So I don't think you can be critical of him, but I think we could have shut the goal down at source.
Yeah, I think the two mistakes in the build-up, but I think everyone should also shown him onto his left foot because I'm not sure anyone is expecting him to do that from there. But he's a Premier League
showing him
footballer.
Inside then, though, aren't you? I mean, as soon as you show him inside, even if he doesn't hit it, he's got options to pick then at the far post. So whether he's left-footed or right-footed, you need to be showing him outside so that you can try and manage the second phase of the attack. So there was a lot wrong with it, which is probably something, probably the most disappointing thing of the whole day, really, because we've conceded a lot of goals this season, but a lot of them are from set pieces. It's not very often we've given that sort of goal away where we've backed off. We've been relatively good in and around our own penalty area, so that was quite disappointing. But the situation you're in, and you're up against a side who were scoring goals and winning games, so you shouldn't be surprised. But just we just could have done a bit better for me.
Absolutely. Moving on to an incredible goal, Tyler. I know a lot of people have been talking about Mario being Cody-esque with his passing, and I think you could put a centre midfielder at the back and he's got time. You should be doing that, but to that extent, to pick that run out, I think Strand Larsen sort of pulled the one centre back away a little bit. It allowed Cunha to run in. He's absolutely pinpointed the pass, but the first touch to drop it down whilst on the run, the little second one and the clip over the keeper, that's a goal that any forward across Europe would be proud of. Yeah,
it wasn't bad, was it? And I think he's just oozing confidence and class, isn't he, to even be nonchalant enough. It's like the Southampton goal. It's just a touch and a whip in the top corner. And this one was just the same. It just screamed of, it was like Bergkamp-esque, wasn't it, for those old enough to remember him. It was just perfect. The touch was perfect. He didn't break his stride. And then to have the composure and the balance to then still finish it the way he did was just brilliant. So the ball was good, but Cunha made the ball look, very, very good in how he dealt with it. And you're talking about a player who's arguably like on the top of his game, and like Nocky said, it's one of the best individual performances you'll see. Just purely ran them ragged, and we've had the tongue-in-cheek conversations about him doing more off the ball and that sort of thing, but the positions he gets in are just unbelievable. The pockets of spaces he finds just sometimes by standing still and doing nothing. And right on time, Elliott's there. It's that ability. He's just in those spaces, and he can drop in short. He can go in behind. He's big. He's strong. He's got everything. He can go where he wants to go, can't he? He's one of those that can play for anybody. I think he's that good.
Yeah, it was such a good goal. Nocky, the second goal wasn't bad either. Little bit of interplay. touch again, and he's fed João Gomez in. I think Bellegarde was involved in the build-up. The little touch again. Cunha just finding the pocket, rolling them in. It's a good first touch from João Gomez on his weak foot as well, finishing the far corner, away in delirious. Brilliant.
And it shows Cunha's all-round game, doesn't it? I mean, as you know, I've been critical of Gary O'Neill, but whether he's advanced his own ability or whether Gary's had a part in that, you've got to say there's got to be something there from O'Neill, because he's definitely improved his positional sense and his off-the-ball play. And he was just so intelligent, isn't he? Just the way he picked the ball up, and how many strikers just try one from there, just try and curl one into the top corner, but he doesn't. He spots the run of Gomez, and it's just a little reverse pass around the corner. And, a touch and finish was just exquisite across the keeper into the bottom corner. It was just a top goal. And I just, all four of our goals I thought were really special in their own way. But it's, when you've got a player who can do that, who can drop into the midfield area and pick the ball up deep and run forward, and then he won't just commit and steam into the area or hover around the edge of the box because he thinks there might be opportunities for cutbacks. And he just reads the game so well. It's just, someone said that his first goal was kind of like a Dennis Bergkamp-esque sort of finish, and I kind of agree with that. And he's got that sort of mentality where he knows where the ball's going to be, he knows what positions to get into. He's just such an intelligent footballer, and it's just a good ball into Gomez, but you can't underestimate what Gomez has to do, because he's still got a lot of work to do from that position. So to touch with the right to set himself and then just bang left-footed under the keeper, just another fantastic goal.
Yeah, great to see Gomez get there, because he's probably not our technically most gifted midfielder. I mean, he's still a very, very good footballer, but he's got the engine that when Wolves are breaking, he can get in the box. So when you've got Andre in behind him, you can get forward in those positions, which he did. But just another mention to Cunha again. His decision-making at the moment, he's not, for someone that's scoring a lot of goals from outside the box, he's not really that selfish. If the through ball is on, like he found with Sarabia last week, like he did with João Gomez, if the pass is on, he'll find it instead of shooting. So, yeah, amazing. Tyler, the third goal, which is probably my favourite, some strength and pace from Cunha, Spanish man. João Gomez lays it on. We talked before the show, if the ball's in front of him, I don't think he scores that goal, but because João Gomez's pass is a little bit behind him, it's allowed him to sweep it, and what a finish it is.
I'm just laughing at that statement from Mark. Sorry. The pass makes him. I'm no expert that one there. That tickled me. The pass makes him.
For those listening on Spotify, Mark says Tyler described the goal like he's done better.
It's not me. It's spelt wrong. That is the mark, so it's not mine.
Yeah, down the five side, lads, maybe. But yeah, I think this goal. I mean, some people prefer this one. I think the first one's better because of what he's had to do, but. Again, it's just the confidence, just to think it's there and to whip it. And I think, the pass from Gomez makes his mind up, doesn't it? Because it's perfectly on the plate just to whip it top corner. And I think Gomez, like you talk about him, I think he's probably wrongly at times been labelled as a defensive midfielder. I think João Gomez is an all-action midfielder, and we saw at times last season.
Well, a goal and assist, he's showing all action.
Palace at home, he can get in the box, and when he does get in the box, he's a good finisher. So, and I think Andre brings that out of him as well. So, credit to João Gomez. I think goal, assist at the weekend as well, and he's adding numbers to his game as well. So, yeah, and like Lockie said, if you've got sort of Brazil's centre midfield and Brazil's centre forward, they've got to be playing, haven't they? And we've got to be seeing more of what we saw at the weekend, because the quality that some of the players has got is undeniable, isn't it? But again, it's just a ridiculous, confident, nonchalant finish, isn't it?
We've been. There's questions later on about this, but we've had lots of Jota and Jimenez. They scored different types of goal to that. This is the first time for me we've had a forward that's comfortable with bangers outside the box. That he can. You almost think from anywhere now he believes in himself that much, but. That caressed finish with the side of your right foot, just not really powerful, just to bend it over it's one of those. I mean, people talking about scoring goals on FIFA like that. It was the most nonchalant finish, and his celebration. It was just. When was the last time we had a magical moment? We've seen some good goals. I mean, the goal against Southampton was good, Tyler, but for me, that's a world-class finish. Just side-footing it, looping it like that. It was just incredible.
I think they all are. The Southampton one, that goal's a joke as well. because that's just, again, getting in the pocket, touch, and to whip it away from Ramsdale that side across him. I mean, that's just a ridiculous finish as well. So, I mean, you're talking 3 goals of quality, like you say, that we're probably not used to seeing as Wolves fans, as in individual goals like that. You know, we saw the Neves ones, didn't we, over the years? But from a forward and from a striker, he just looks like he can score from anywhere. And you'd like to think if you've got a player that can get you 12, 15 plus goals, plus probably the similar number of assists, you'd like to think that that's almost enough on its own to get you out of trouble. But we've got to be careful we don't have too much reliance on him. Let's be honest, he's carried the team after a lot of the season, hasn't he? And, we're probably a Cunha injury away from being banging the brown stuff.
Yeah, if Matthias Cunha stays fit throughout the season, Wolverhampton Wanderers are not getting relegated. They're not. We have to protect him. There's a lot of games over Christmas. I'm not saying use him sparingly, but we have to pick our moments. He does get injuries. So he's our prize asset and he's our match winner at the moment. So, yeah, he needs to be protected over a really busy spell. Nocky, the 4th goal wasn't so bad either. Mario Lemina looked like he was back in centre midfield, wasn't happy with 3-1, drove it forwards into Strand Larsen. Strand Larsen picked Goncalo Guedes out and banged it in the far corner, 4-1. Madness in the away end.
I really like this goal because it showed such a willingness to go and score a goal when you're 3-1 up and the game's done and dusted. And Mario,
there was a few, and Channy were bombing, weren't they?
Yeah, we just drove forward. It was similar to the Brighton 5-on-1, wasn't it? But we managed to pick the right pass. But to see so many committing forward and driving and trying to score another goal, and I'm pleased for Guedes as well because I like Guedes. I think he's a really good player there, and he hasn't had too many opportunities and he can finish. We've seen that in the League Cup this season that he can finish. So it was a lovely move. Strand Larsen, who I don't think had a particularly good game, picks out a pass and gets himself an assist, and it's a lovely finish past the keeper into the bottom corner, and he just rounded it off really well for us. But to see that desire and that, just that passion to get forward, and we want to score more goals, we want to get another one, we want to make this right, and to break in the area and finish like that, it was just a really good way to finish off what was a sensational day.
It's nice to see Wolves killing the game. I know obviously they rolled the dice with the substitutions, but it's nice to see Wolves do a professional job. As soon as it went to 10v11, Wolves in total control, picked them off, ruthless, 2 really good goals when that happened. So it's nice to see that level of class and professionalism from our side. You're listening to episode 111 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knott, Chris Tyler and myself. Ryan, let's go through the players and ratings. As always now, if you want to give your scores up there, we'll get up as many as we can, bang them through, and it'll guide us through as well. Tyler, Jose Sarr, not really had a lot to do. There was one sort of through ball over the top that I think he was chasing down with Raul. He came out and headed it. Otherwise, I can't really say he's had particularly much to do.
No, he hasn't. No. But what he did well, didn't he? And I think someone put a comment earlier that he was comfortable at what he did. He swept up well. His distribution was decent. Unnerving to probably have a different centre-back pairing in front of him, but it all seemed nice and calm, didn't it? And, not too flappy, which we can sometimes see from him. So you can't give him any more than a 7 because he hasn't really had a lot to do. But what he did, I thought he did well and was comfortable. And he's obviously got the number 1 jersey back as well, hasn't he, for the time being?
I almost think as well that he did have a quiet start to the season, and there was people questioning at the start. And I did think we needed a backup keeper that could challenge him. And I actually think that spell out of the team has done Jose Sarr the good. He almost looks like the player that was not peaking at Wolves, but he looks like the high levels he'd found previously, which wasn't at the start of this season. So, yeah, I'm happy that Jose Sarr's back in, and if he carries on how he is, I don't see him being outside anytime soon. Nocky, onto the standing centre-back, Mario Lemina. I know we've talked about this a lot off air, and people are asking about it later on, so we won't talk about it going forward until then. But this, for me, was such a solid performance. I think he was a little bit ambitious earlier on with some of his longer passes, but when he sort of calmed himself down a bit, then he looked composed, he looked strong, and I don't think he was troubled the whole game.
I thought he was excellent. Gets himself an assist, drives forward, as you said, for the 4th goal. I thought his positional sense was really, really good. It's hard to gauge his defensive capability because I don't think he was tested too much. I don't think Raul or anybody else really got at him, but everything he did, he did really well. It was a captain's performance. He stepped out of his comfortable position and dropped back to help the team out. So I think with the fact that we've won the game, the fact he's got the assist and he's been involved in 2 goals, he's got to be an 8 for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Carl agrees with you as well. Moving on to your new hero, Tyler, Toti Gomez. This is a player. I know we all
He's
have
been
opinions on
brilliant,
him, but the last month, I would say Toti has really upped his game, and Saturday was no different.
He finally looks like a footballer, doesn't he? And I don't mean that even negatively, but his composure is a million times better. He's really stepped up, hasn't he? And I thought left centre back on Saturday, I thought he was outstanding. And I said the same against Southampton. He's just got better and better the last few weeks. I did used to criticise him when he looked like he couldn't walk in a straight line, but now he's come on leaps and bounds. And if you, it's early days, but if you're talking about most improved players, for me, he's nailed on in that category. It's almost like he's taken probably a bit of responsibility, wasn't he? He was the senior centre back in that team on Saturday. I know Lemina's captain, but from that position, he's the one that's been there, done it, and he's brilliant. I can't fault him at the moment. Quick, strong, aggressive, pacey, but looking comfortable on the ball, making the right decisions more often than not. It's going to be hard to shift out of that side when everyone's fit, and fair play to him. He's been superb. So I'm giving him an 8 as well as Lemina. I thought he was really rock solid.
Yeah, I agree. I think Toti's always, if he's got 2 footballers next to him, I think the fact he's got the captain next to him who's very composed and you can give him the ball in most positions, he can roll people. Nori can have the ball anywhere as well. It just worked for Toti, and he isn't the most gifted footballer, but his ball distribution the last month has massively improved. And as you say, his aggression, his pace, his desire to get into the 50-50s. Yeah, I agree. 8 as well. Noki, probably one of the lower performers. Ryan Nori.
Yeah, I don't think he was terrible, but I thought maybe slightly harshly, though I think he should have done better for the goal. I think he's caught in 2 minds as to whether to track the run or to block the shot. But for me, your priority is stop the shot coming in. So a little bit disappointed with him in that area. He didn't seem to do those long bursting runs that he normally does or get himself into attacking areas quite as often. I'm guessing that was probably a tactical move based on the players we were missing. He did everything he was supposed to do. He did the basics relatively well, other than the goal. So it was a decent performance. He didn't really stand out, but he wasn't horrendous either. So it's probably around about a 7 for me.
Yeah, he looked more like a left back performance, and I know he tried to do that spin and he lost the ball in the builder, but I thought he looked like a solid left back, and
you'll get that with him though, won't you? You get that with him. You know that you're going to have a moment where he beats 4 players and puts an inch perfect cross in, and then he's going to fall over the ball. He's just one of those sort of players that you have to accept that you're going to get good bits and bad bits, but he's one of the most exciting players at the team. He's definitely worth his place. So he's someone I enjoy watching play football. Yeah,
absolutely. He's very much an entertainer and looked like a left back on Saturday. I mean, he wasn't, like I said, he wasn't terrible, but he certainly wasn't one of the standouts. Someone who hasn't really let us down for a long time, and in my eyes should be getting a new contract, Tyler Nelson Semedo.
Yeah, I thought him and Bellegarde did start a bit shaky, to be honest. I thought there was a fair bit coming down our right-hand side.
There's a ball in behind, wasn't there? Yeah.
But Robinson, probably as good as a left back in the league at the moment, with his pace and his distribution, and Smith Rowe gets in pockets, and it's fine margins, isn't it? If that goal goes in from Raul, which came from that side, and then you're 2-0 down with the Robies, you're sort of up against it, but lady luck. But I thought after that, once we got a foothold in the game, him and Bellegarde worked well together as a duo. Not fantastic, not poor, similar feedback to 8-0, really. I think he's a 7, isn't he? You have to think that after their goal, they were very quiet, weren't they, offensively? And that means that the guys must have done something well. So I'd give Semedo a 7 just for being pretty solid.
Yeah, I think the game flashed them by when they hit the post with Raul. I think after that, their heads dropped, and Wolves then were, especially after the equaliser, grew into the game. But yeah, I agree with what you said about Semedo. I want to talk about Andre. I know you two get to talk about the players, but this guy, for me, as you both mentioned, I don't know how he's been out of the team for so long. I know me included, weren't happy when he was subbed at Brentford. That didn't seem to make any sense, and we have not really seen a lot of him since then. But this guy, he's one of these players, you could hit the ball to him anywhere. He looks comfortable. His positioning, the way he reads it, he's happy to take the space in front of him. He's got the confidence to push it past somebody. I just think he's somebody that Wolves are a better side for having him in the team. And on Saturday, he got the very best out of Joe Gomez. Him doing that job behind them got our box-to-box number 8 and a goal and assist. So for me, I think he's an 8. Solid. His pass, as Dave said, his pass completion must be incredible. For me, I can't see, regardless of who he's one of the first names. He's one of the first names on the team sheet. Derby giving him 11 out of 10. So yeah, fair enough. That's how good he was. Nocky, tell me about Joe Gomez.
He's criminally underrated, not so much by us, but the rest of the football fraternity, I think, because he can do it all. He can score goals, he can create goals, he can, he's work rate. I'd love to see how many miles he clocks up in a game, because he never seems to stop running, and he plays with a smile on his face as well. He seems to really enjoy being part of the team and playing football. So just tidy in what he does. He's got such control in possession, and he's fierce in the tackle. The finish, I think, was absolutely fantastic from the position he was in, from a player who doesn't get too many goals to finish like that. And then his intelligence to set up the goal for Cunha. I mean, he's only a young lad as well. He's still developing. He's still learning, and you can see why he's playing for Brazil, because he's just got that. He's got that flair about him. He's got that ability. So I thought he was excellent. He's comfortably an 8, probably more than 8.5 was kind of where I was, because of how well he linked up, and he linked the midfield to the attack. It worked better for him, I think, because Andre was in the side for all the reasons that you mentioned, Roy, but he just allowed him a little bit more freedom to really get forward and just do what he wanted to do, really. He almost felt like he had a free roll at times, just popping up everywhere. So, yeah, for me, 8.5 comfortably with that performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic performance. Tyler, moving on to Bellegarde, someone that we wasn't sure would start, but in terms of his work ethic, I think he's someone the manager trusts. As you said with Semedo, had a bit of a quiet start to the game. Not a spectacular game, but was involved in the second goal. Did okay.
Yeah, I think he is a quandary, isn't he? Because it seems, for whatever reason, we can't get the best out of him, whether that's positionally or tactically or just the way we play. I think you can't see him ever playing in the central areas because of the quality of players that we've been talking about so far. He doesn't strike me as an out-and-out wide man. Came on against Southampton second half and did well. And I thought he did well, actually, on Saturday. I thought he's not one of those wingers that's going to beat 3 people and put it in the box, but he drifted inside a lot in the second half and got into positions, and I think he was involved in the goal where he came into a pocket. Fulham didn't really pick him up, and then he played it to Gomez, I think, and then on to Cunha. So he is a bit of a challenge. He's probably a player that managers like, because he can feel he can cover different positions. He gives you 100% effort.
What do you think he is? Where do you think his position is? Where do you think long term?
He's a centre midfielder. I do think he's a centre midfielder, but because this happens with players who are quick.
I don't know if he's a Premier League centre midfielder, though. I think there's a difference.
Well, I know he's only pre-season, but when he played centre midfield in pre-season and taking the space in front of him, neat and tidy, I really like him there. But as you said, though, Mario Lemina, Joe Gomez, Andre, let's not be disrespectful to Tommy Doyle.
All ahead of him, yeah.
He's a long way down that pecking order, but because he's got a bit of pace, and because he's very fit and he's disciplined, the managers do this. They play players they can trust, and because he does a lot of teamwork. So where do I see him? I think he's a centre midfielder. I'd probably have him as an 8. That's probably where I would play him, but I don't think he's ever going to get a look in there at Wolves.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure where. Yeah, I'm not sure where he fits in the longer term plans, but he's a solid 7 for me on Saturday. I thought he did okay.
Yeah, but if we win 4-1, he's playing right mid. He can play as much as he wants. No problem at all. Who should we go on to now? Rodrigo Gomez. Tyler. Nocky, sorry.
You're making me work overtime here. So what?
I thought first half, I thought he felt a little bit lost. I thought he struggled. He should have done better for the goal. should have cleared the ball. Tried a little bit too hard, I think, to make an impression, and he ended up getting a little bit lost in that first half. Second half, to his credit, I thought he got a grip and he just started doing the basics, which when it's not going well for you is probably what you should do. And he was running the channels, he was affecting the game, he was pulling people out of position, so he had a much better second half. He's got a lot of Neto about him for me. I think the first season for Neto, he didn't really look the part. He didn't. It took him a couple of seasons to get going. I think there's a really good player there, and I think he will be an exceptional footballer. And I think, in a couple of seasons from now, we're going to be struggling to keep him. But at the moment, he's just learning his trade. He's on the peripheries of it, isn't he? I think if everybody's fit and available, I don't think he's your first choice on that side. So I think with the mix of the first half and the improvement in the second, I couldn't give him above a 6.
Yeah, what I like about Rodrigo Gomez, Tyler, is for whatever reason, he's somebody that grows into the game. And because he's so fit, I don't think he's the fastest player. But for me, the second half is when he looks at his most dangerous, and he doesn't look any slower than when he started the game. As players get a little bit leggy, he seems to be able to put his foot down. And because of that, I think you mentioned it earlier in the show, it's not necessarily what he's got with the ball, but he's a willing runner off the ball. And that will make your fullback think, I've got to drop 5 yards here. And just that presence allows the space for Cooney to open up, because the fullback's not coming inside because they're wary of the ball in behind.
Yeah, I think he got him behind a couple of times in the first half and it didn't lead to anything. But as a right back, you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute, he's got a bit, he's going to keep turning me in. And like Elliot and you have said, his energy levels seem superb. I think we've questioned the fitness of the squad at times, but he doesn't seem to fall into that category. And then when Tete got the yellow card, he was basically nowhere near Rodrigo and didn't want to know. And I think if nothing else, he just gave them a lot to think about. He wasn't brilliant on the ball, like Nocky said, and he wasn't doing wonders, but he was just in their head as that option that was there every single time. And his energy levels are superb, and he worked. I think he worked his socks off, and it's not often I disagree with the bald Messiah Nocky, but he's a 7 for me all day. I think he worked really hard on Saturday and grew into the game well.
Yeah, definitely a lot more team contribution without the ball in attacking areas, like you said, though, and that allowed the space for others. So yeah, I hope he doesn't change the team at all next week. Stay on you for that, Tyler. Strand Larson, unsung hero, got an assist. He's got some good numbers this season, goals and assists. Obviously not taking the limelight when you're playing up front with Cunha, but a good team performance for me.
I liked him. I think he did well, and it's similar to what we talked about with Rodrigo. He occupies centre halves. If nothing else, he's giving them something to think about, which we haven't had for such a long time. And he played it sounds ridiculous, but he played a bigger part in the first goal than you think, because like you said, he's occupying those two centre halves.
He's gone, hasn't he? He's pulled Anderson over.
Yeah. And that's not luck. That's good coaching. I've said it from O'Neill. That's good play from Strand Larson himself. And I like him. I think the stuff that I think sometimes he can look a bit slow and a bit off the pace, but then he sort of comes alive then and has a good 5-10 minutes and then sort of falls off again. So can we get more from him consistently for 70, 80, 90 minutes? But I'm with Knocker. I've got no issue with him playing an hour and then Guedes coming on and finishing the game. So I think that really gives us an option there. And I think he works hard. He's obviously knackered after about the hour mark. And it seems we're still a bit hesitant to make that sub. But again, 7 for me. I thought he did well, put shift in.
You want him a bit more physical, though, don't you? That's the only thing I'd say about him. He's a big, strong lad, and that'll probably come with time. But I just think he should use his sheer volume a little bit more than he does.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and someone else can correct me on here. Is this the first time that the Jørgen Strand Larsen's played the full 90 minutes? He didn't get subbed on Saturday. And he's put the assist on in the 95th minute, which would suggest Gary's hinted him about and getting fitter. If you're up there bursting late on and you're squaring, setting someone up, I'd say he's getting fitter. Yeah, very much an unsung hero, but yeah, you make a good point, Nocky. He's a big lad, and I want him to knock people around a little bit more. But I think he's a big part of the way we play. The little jink inside, he pulls Anderson away for Cunha to then drop an assist as well. So yeah, big levels, decent numbers. If he's getting an assist and a goal every other game, then absolutely fantastic. Nocky, Mateus Cunha is all yours.
I wish he was.
Put those hands somewhere I can see them.
I just thought he was absolutely fantastic. As I said before, I do think it's the best individual performance I've seen from a Wolves player. He's just so intelligent. He's playing a level above everybody else. He was the best player on the pitch by a country mile. And when you look at the performances of Gomez and players like that, he was just way ahead of everybody. It was just the two finishes, the run for the first. I don't think you can understate how good that is with the control, just the touch to bring it down, and then the second touch takes it away from the defender, and then just a flick past the goalkeeper. It's just so controlled in what he does, and he just seems to be dropping back into midfield and affecting the game, picking the ball up, bringing space for others. He gets himself an assist. He just finds pockets all over the place, and the finish over the goalkeeper, that's not a blast, that's just a caress of the ball, and just curled it and chipped him at the same time into the top corner. Just feels like he's in that run of form at the moment where everything he does, he's working for him, and he looks £100 million footballer at this moment in time. And I don't think there's a team in the league he doesn't improve if he goes into it the way he's playing at this moment in time. He's just a top player, and I think if he does stay fit, I agree with you, it gives us a massive chance of staying in the division. But we are so reliant on him because we've got players that we can replace in most positions. But I'd say the two that we'd really struggle to replace would be probably Strand Larsen and in particular Cunha, because he's so important to the way that we play. And whether it's a 4-4-2, he drops back and he makes the midfield stronger, or he plays in a 10, he'll play advanced to the striker in a 9, or he'll pull wide to support the wide areas. He just does everything at the minute. So for me, he's clearly the best player we've got at this moment in time. We've got to look after him, keep him fit. But in terms of performances, I can't fault anything he did at all. And he similar to Gomez, he plays with a massive smile on his face. The fans love him, and he just seems happy to be here. And if you've got a player, you can't play the way he's playing unless you're happy at the football club. So there's a lot of people who deserve a lot of credit, including Gary O'Neill, because he has coached him and he has improved him and he's made him better, and he's worked on the bits of his game that he needed to work on. But just a fantastic player, and it's a privilege to watch him at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo that, and I'm sure Tyler does as well. And I am going to give Gary O'Neill some credit, because we have hit him hard on this show, and justifiably so. I think he's deserved a lot of the credit. The criticism he's had. But I know it sounds simple, but if you've got your best player, play him in the best position and give him the ball as much as you can. I know that sounds really simple, and it almost sounds like Sunday league stuff, but that's what we're doing. We're allowing him that, like the unselfish movement from Strand Larsen, the unselfish movement from Rodrigo, those guys' movement is allowing our best player to get in the space. As soon as he turns and goes, people are in trouble. He can create, he can score, and credit for the manager for setting them up around your best player. Of course, we're not a one-man band. Granted, he's getting a lot of the credit at the moment, but yeah, well, in terms of the goals we are, but the teamwork that's going around that and the shape that we're playing is credit to the manager at the moment. And we've criticised him, so we have to give him credit for that, because Cunha, the job he's done on him and the spaces we're getting him into are almost perfect at the moment. That concludes the player and match analysis. You are listening and watching episode 111 of the Wolves Report. Mark Knott, Chris Tyler, and myself, Ryan Lester. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, or X, formerly known as Twitter, drop us a follow, a like, a subscribe. It will be very much appreciated. Let's go on to some questions. Some cracking questions this week. I've tried to group them because there's been quite a few that are sort of overlapped each other. Let's go on to our favourite topic of the last few months. Paul, Christian, Jeremy, are we still O'Neill out, or does the last 5 games give him some breathing space? It's a stinking question, but one that needs to be answered. Nocky.
It obviously gives him breathing space. Nothing's changed for me. I still would replace him now if it was my choice. I would. I think for the reasons that we've discussed, the fact this squad's in anywhere near the bottom 3 is a reflection of the way they've been coached and managed. So if we're not going to write him off over the 1 winning 20-odd games, then I don't think you can fully be back on side after 4 decent performances. So at this moment in time, nothing's changed for me, but I'd absolutely love to be proved wrong on this one. If I eat humble pie in a few months, then no one will be happier than myself.
We all have a bit of pie at Christmas, Nocky. Certainly I do. One thing I would say as well, and I said it off air, if Wolves beat Bournemouth, I think Gary O'Neill will get manager of the month. And then where does the show go? Well. Where does your show go from me? Paul, Chris, Jeremy, thank you for your question. I'm in agreement. And I think the fact that they didn't pull the trigger after an almost record-breaking, desperately bad start to the season and running, if you include in last year's fixtures, they're not going to get rid now. Saturday wasn't just a win like Southampton. The second half was fantastic. So we've seen what these players are capable of. And like Tyler said and Nokia said, they should be doing better than what they are. And now they're starting to deliver. And long may it continue. Thanks for the question, gentlemen. Tyler, this one's a great one for you. Individual brilliance from Cunha or a good team performance. If we took Cunha out on Saturday, do we even get a point? No doubting his quality, but if he gets injured, we are trouble. I'm just going to answer that quickly first before you have it. I think if you take Cunha out of any team in the Premier League at the moment, they miss him. That's how good he is. And that's not a slight on Wolves. I just think he's irreplaceable. And this form, that player at the moment is as good as anybody.
Yeah, he's the main man, isn't he? And I think he knows he's the main man. He's got that aura at the moment. And I think the players know it as well. I think they often pass him the ball. They look up, they see where he is. That's, a clear tactic and a clear way of playing. And I think Cunha thrives off it. I do agree with Jason to a point. I think if we did take him out of the team, I don't think we win the game. I'm not sure we beat Southampton without him, really. I think that's how crucially he is to us. There isn't anybody, like Nocky said, that can come in and even half replace what he offers the club. So, yeah, everything Jason says there for me, I'm in agreement with. And yeah, let's hope he doesn't get injured. But if he does, we're up it with that. A paddle like me, I think we just can't afford that if we want to stay in this league. He has to be fit for pretty much all of our league games coming up, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's Jason. I think it is individual brilliance, but as I mentioned just 5 minutes ago, I think the way the team's set up and the unselfish work from those around him is allowing that to happen. And without that space, he's not going to get those chances. So,
but that's the answer, isn't it? If he's not in the team for either of those arguments, we don't win the game.
Yeah,
because of his individual brilliance, but also because of how we're set up to play. That there's no denying it. Say that's Wang playing or Guedes playing instead of him, no chance.
Yeah, you're right. Fair. Great question, Jason. Thanks for being part of the show. Here is this week's official stinker from Adrian. Which one, peak Raul or Cunha? Now that's a disgusting question, Adrian. We're just trying to enjoy ourselves. Just want to veer off slightly. There's not very many players who are playing against you that get their name sang out repeatedly by the away end. Now, I'm not sure if Wolves were losing, that would have happened as much as it did. But for me, that was a heartwarming moment, and the proper send-off that Lopetegui didn't give Raul, that I think he earned as a footballer for what he did for the football club. And I know I'm with quite a brutal bunch of boys on this show that aren't very forgiving or don't give much love out to a player that's left, but we're lucky the fact that we've had players like Neves and Raul that deserve that credit. Not many players come back like that and get that reception. So, yeah, I'm delighted Raul got that. But anyway, let's get back to Adrian's stinky question. Well, I'm going to answer it and sit on the fence, and you two can tell me about it. I'd have liked them seeing to play together. Totally different footballers. They're an ideal 9 and 10. Is Cunha better than Pete Yotta to go alongside Raul? I think he might be. But Raul over Cunha, Nocky, it's a stinker.
I think we forget how good Raul was. I do think that we forget how important he was for us and how brilliant he was. And also, I'm not sure you can compare the two because they're different players. I mean, Raul, he's an out-and-out number 9, isn't he? If you're going to compare him with anyone, it would be Jota. And I think he's already better than Jota. I think that Jota at his best isn't at Cunha's level at this moment in time. So I couldn't pick between the two because I just think they're too dissimilar in what they do. But you've got to give... You've got to have a short memory if you don't remember Raul in that season for us, in particular when he was verging on world class and he was banging goals in, and he gets the first against Man United in the absolutely bonkers quarter final. So, very, very difficult question to answer, and I don't think I can if I'm being honest, because they're both absolutely superb.
For me, Tyler, Raul at Wolves at his best was the most complete number 9 I've ever seen play for Wolves. He's not the number 9 I love the most. I grew up on Steve Bull, and Wolves were crap many an afternoon, and he'd get us out of trouble again and again, and that's your hero growing up, isn't it? But Pete Raoul, little bit of pace, good in the air, linked, score goals, as good as, but they're not the same player. In this system, would I want Raoul up front with Jurgen Strand-Larsen? No, because Cunha, you couldn't put them two together, really, could you? Impossible to answer, Adrian. Which one's had a better history and track record? Raoul, because obviously the 7th place finishes, Europe semi-final. So Raoul's got the better history at the moment. By the time Cunha leaves, Wolves really have a better reputation than Raoul. If he keeps up this, he might do. Tyler?
I think it's so difficult. I think Raoul played in a better side. I think Raoul played under a better manager and a better coach. I'd say Raoul if you're asking me now, but come the end of the season, I think that could quite easily change to Cunha. I think he's got the potential to basically do what he wants and go where he wants. But on with Nocky, Jimenez at the time with Kane for me was as good a centre forward that was around, and I think you can't forget that because he was brilliant. He was that good. So yeah, if I had to answer the question at the moment, I'm saying Jimenez. But that's probably likely to change in a year or two.
That's a great question, Adrian. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Now, I'm going to do a quick fire one here. Just a yes or no answer for this one before we move on to Saturday's game in the Gary O'Neill derby. Kevas, have we turned the corner? Nocky? That's one answer.
No.
Talia?
No.
And I'm going to go maybe, and that's as positive I'm being. I'm not getting drawn into your games, Kev.
We're on the bend. We're just halfway around the bend.
Sounds like a two-flusher. That's not what we need. Moving on to Saturday afternoon, it is the Gary O'Neill derby. Lovely bit of needle on social media. I think there has been between Bournemouth and Wolves fans over the last few years, and I'm sure it'll be no different on Saturday afternoon. Bournemouth lost at home the weekend to a very good Brighton side, but it looks like they had a decent performance. Nocky, this is a big test. This is a purist team with a lot of pace, although Semenya, I believe, got his 5th booking and will be suspended.
It's good news because I think he's a good player. They've had a good start to the season, haven't they? They look a half decent team. Kluivert's a big threat for them. I think man for man we're better, but I do think they've probably got the better coach at this moment in time. So they're set up well. They're very disciplined and organised in what they do, so they're hard to break down. It's going to be a big test for us. When you look at the fixtures we've got up until Christmas, I think we need a gap by the time we hit that Boxing Day fixture, which I think is Man United. So you need to be winning your home games. It's a big ask to go and win 3 games on the spin, but you've got to be targeting this one for 3 points, especially after they've lost at the weekend and we've just hit 4. So it's a difficult game. We're going to have to probably play at the very least the levels we did at Fulham to get anything out of this one, because I do think they're a decent side.
Nocky, we've pulled back 8 points on Man City in the last 4 games. What are you talking about? Tyler, big task. I think Bournemouth, to be honest, with this manager, aren't far off going to be where Fulham finishing, somewhere in the middle of the park. I think they've got a lot of pace. They play a lot of positive football, and they've got a coach that plays attacking football. So I think these will be more of a goal threat than Fulham were the weekend.
Yeah, I think you're bigging up Bournemouth to be a bit better than they are, I think.
I mean, haven't they beat Man City and Arsenal at home?
Well, who hasn't beat Man City this season?
Us.
But jokes aside, it's like Fulham. We're not going to Real Madrid or Barcelona. We've got Bournemouth at home, and I think it's a sign of where we are that we're sort of a bit nervous and a bit aware of going into it. If we beat Bournemouth on Saturday, we're 3 points behind them. The flip side to that is, if you lose, you're 9 behind them. But I don't fear playing Bournemouth at home. I think, if anything, if they're set up like a Fulham, like a Newcastle, like a Chelsea, that would suit us in a way. They won't give us respect. They won't come and part the bus. They'll come and take us on toe for toe. And I'd rather that than anything else, really. And what have we got to be fearful of at the moment? The players should be brimming with confidence. We've got one of the best players in the league at the moment. I'd rather Bournemouth were, worried about us than the other way around, really. But who knows? Yeah, it might come to bite me on the backside. But I'm not fearing playing Bournemouth at home in the Premier League. No chance.
We have we're probably going to have a conundrum the weekend. If Santi's fit and Dawson's fit, we have a real issue. But I'd rather have positive problems selection-wise, Nocky, than to be thinking, I'm not sure who we're going to pick. I think Wolves, Gary kind of stumbled on Saturday afternoon. I think we've now found our best midfield pairing. But this brings up one of the questions that Kev, Carl and Jay asked. Is Mario at the back the way forward? Also meaning that Andre stays in the midfield with Joe Gomez. Kev, Carl, Jay, I grouped your question together because you all pretty much asked it and I've grouped it as one. Nocky, surely you don't change a team that's won 4-1, but can you really leave Craig Dawson and Santi out?
I know you said it's a positive getting players back. It's not always, because it gives the manager an opportunity to tinker a little bit. For me, I don't think you change it, even if they're both fit. I think you go with exactly what you went with against Fulham. We just hit 4 goals. We just won an away game for the first time since, February? So I wouldn't want to change anything. I don't see the sense in doing that. I think they've all earned their shirt, and even if both of them are back, I'm keeping it exactly as it was.
Tyler, do you feel the same, or do you want a bit more insurance?
I do always worry when the experiment carries on a bit longer, but it's hard.
Mario's played at the back twice, and we've won both games.
It is hard to argue. It is. Would Rodrigo? I wouldn't do it, but would he maybe be sacrificed, or Bellegarde sacrificed? Maybe. I don't know. I think they deserve the opportunity to keep their shirt and play again. And if nothing else, it strengthens the bench. It gives you options. I just think that the longer you keep doing it, it can start to backfire on you. But there's a reason Mario Lemina doesn't play centre half every week because he's not a centre half. And I think the longer you do it, Gary can't do right for wrong on Saturday, can he? If he keeps the same team and we lose, he'll get murdered. If he makes changes and we lose, he'll get murdered. It just depends.
I don't think anyone's going to murder him for if Wolves lost at Bournemouth and he started the same team. Excuse me. I don't think he'll get murdered, because
he will if there's 2 centre halves on the bench and we lose. I think he would. Or he's opening himself up.
But Totti and Mario were almost faultless, mate.
But like I said, there's a reason that Mario isn't a centre back, and there's a reason Totti plays normally as a left-sided centre back in a 3 or a left back. All I'm saying is the longer you keep doing it, I think it can start to backfire. You were telling me how good Dawson and Bueno have been for the last 3 or 4 weeks last week.
They have, but we just scored 4, so
you can see him doing something with Rodrigo, can't you? You can see Rodrigo coming out and then going to a 3 at the back. So you potentially bring Bueno back in. You keep Bueno back in, and then you put Lemina as your centre of the 3. Go 3 at the back and tighten it. For me, I think we'd lose a little bit if we did that, but he may want that extra level of stability, just based on exactly what Tyler said, is that we put square pegs in round holes and it worked for us at the weekend. You can't guarantee it's going to do that again.
The one thing he cannot do, and this is for me where it gets tricky, he cannot change that midfield too. I don't want to play 3 in midfield, and I don't want to play anyone else but Joe Gomez and Andre in there. It worked. One was protecting the back 4 and collecting, linking the play. The other one was breaking things up, assisting and scoring. You cannot drop either of those footballers, which means he's got to drop Mario if he brings the centre-backs in. And I just can't see him doing that, Tyler.
No, I'm in knock. I think if anyone's place is up for grabs, it would be one of the wide men, probably Rodrigo. And you could probably just see Aït-Nouri move a bit higher up, couldn't you? I think that might be the way he goes, to be honest. Who knows? Dawson was ill. You'd think he'd be fit. Bueno, who knows? He might take a bit longer. But I totally get your argument, and I see it. But yeah, I just think he might just err a little bit on the side of caution, and maybe Dawson comes in for Rodrigo potentially.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but again, I always see this as a positive problem. I know you talked about it gives the opportunity for managers to tinkle, but the fact that we can't decide on the team after we've won 4-1 because you've got 2 players, defenders, who've played very, very well. Their replacements played as well. I'd rather have that than me thinking, Nelson Semedo's got to play centre back. No disrespect to Nelson. It's a good position to be in.
I suppose the thing is, if, say, for example, you didn't start Dawson or Santi and they're on the bench, it's unlikely that they're going to then come on. Whereas I suppose if you started...
To see the game out, maybe.
For Rodrigo, yeah, potentially. But if you started like a Dawson for Rodrigo, you'd like to think you've still got enough going forward with Aït-Nouri, Bellegarde, Kuna, Gomez, Strand Larson, and then you've then got the options to change it, haven't you? I might be wrong. I just think he might just go that way.
Tough one. Well, only time will tell at the new team announcement time at 1:45 on a Saturday afternoon.
What's that about, by the way? What is that about?
I don't know. Soon we'll be having quarters and 20-minute breaks and God knows what. And someone's offering me to sponsor Nocky. Anything could happen now in modern football. Who knows? Yardley Butchers, Nocky, want your franchise. We're at that stage. Christmas edition. We're on episode 111. Chris Tyler, Mark Knocker, myself, Ryan Lester. It is prediction time. Nocky, I feel like there's more pressure on this week. We all had a sneaky. We kind of really think we might lose, but we thought we were capable of getting something. Now the pressure's on. We're at home. We've won 4-1. Expectations are up. Mark Knock, first goal scorer and prediction, please.
Everything about me says it'll be a 1-1 draw, but I've got to be confident after that. So I'm going to go 3-1 to Wolves.
Get him.
Andre with his first goal.
What? Where's he going to get in the half? Tyler?
I'm sort of with Knocker. I think it's likely to be a draw, but we're on the crest of a wave, boys, aren't we? So let's say 2-1 to Wolves and Aït-Nouri.
Nice. I'm going to go 3-2 Wolves, not use your 1-0, because there's no way we're keeping a clean sheet, and I don't see Wolves not scoring. So I'm going to go 3-2 Wolves, Matheus Cunha. This has been episode 111 of the Wolves Report. Thank you to Mark Knock. Thank you to Chris Tyler. I've been your host, Ryan Lester. Up the Wolves.